Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quench Life podcast. I am Jillian, and I'm super excited to have me with me today, Patti. She is joining us to talk about boundaries and setting goals as we enter into 2026. So, Patti, thank you so much for coming on our podcast today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and why you are in the goal setting boundaries game?
Okay. Well, my whole journey in setting goals and I don't know, self-worth stuff, just it happened many, many years ago. I reached a point where I just felt empty and didn't know the woman looking back at me in the mirror. So it was a long journey. I mean, just to put it in a nutshell, just faked it till I made it, I guess you could say. I just put on a happy face and I just tried to do anything I could to bring my awareness to myself and just to be positive and be there for my kids. Really, they were my motivation. And just by going through all the steps that I talk about in my book, I just reconnected with who I was. And then I ended up writing the book kind of like just to get it out and let it go. And then I met a bunch of women that they were had similar issues that I had. And I just wanted to help them, let them know they weren't alone. So I ended up getting certified and became a life coach. And then I ended up creating a whole program on it. But goal setting is huge and it's been in my life forever because I've always done to-do lists. And to me, a to-do list is a goal list, really.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's totally true. So why don't you just give us a little background on your book and, what it talks about and what it focuses on?
Well, it's interesting because it was, like I said, it was kind of like a dumping of my emotions. And then that turned into a program, which I call my program. It's called Power Within Her as well. And I call that, it's a mirror of my book, except it's on steroids because it's a real deep dive.
Right.
Well, the my book is really it's just the tools that I use to reconnect with myself while I was still living a busy life. I had 4 kids. I was a single mom. So it's really the steps that I went through and how I all of a sudden had this different perspective of my role in my own life. And then how I like started setting goals, and a big one was my book because I had to set goals in order to put that time aside. So this it's really just an unraveling, I guess you could say, of how I got where I am. And I wouldn't change a thing because I wouldn't be sitting here with you if all that crap didn't happen to me back in, you know, the early.
Fair enough. That's sometimes what it takes, right? So you use the word like you need to reconnect to yourself. So like what can you just describe, what that would mean? Like how if somebody else is listening, what does that just mean?
Yeah, I think especially women, we just constantly give, give, give. In being a mom or even a daughter, you take care of your parents, you take care of your kids, running around doing everything for everyone, and you never do anything for yourself. It's like you're at the bottom of the list, and if you can get to that bottom of the list, you might see some,
Yeah,
happiness for yourself. But
sure.
most of us have so much going on that we'd always do more for other people than we do for ourselves. And as time goes on, you just lose that. It, you're still there. It's just all the responsibilities and stresses, they're all piled on top of you and you're under here and you just disconnect from yourself. And all of a sudden you don't even know what you want. You don't know what you like to do. It's like, what happened?
Yeah. I think that that's totally fair, and I think a lot of women, totally feel like that and get to their points in their lives. So, as we talk about kicking off the new year and we start talking about, goals and resolutions, what do you think is some initial first steps that need to happen for us so that we can be not only successful with our goals, but, sticking to them?
Yeah, I think goals are essential because how are you going to know where you're going if you don't have a mark? And that's like, it makes me think of like traveling, you're not going to just get in your car and just go or just jump on an airplane. Like there's so many things you have to pack, you have to, get a dog sitter, you gotta, there's so many things to do, and that's like that's goal setting.
Okay.
So it's the essential things. It's kind of funny because as I thought about goal setting and how you make it like stick, it's got to mean a lot to you. And really, I feel like you really have to get to know you first. Like if there's a whole disconnection, like I was just talking about, how can you set a goal when you don't even know who you are? So you don't even know what you really want.
Mm,
We have all these like losing weight, being nicer or whatever. It's almost like they're cliche goals. Like it's like a candy just sitting there. Which one do you want? And you just pick something rather than having it come from your heart. So in order for you to have a real meaningful goal, you really got to know what you stand for. So there's a little bit of a process to like, what do I really want?
mhm. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think so much of the time we set ourselves up for failure with our goals and or New Year's resolutions because we might kind of lean one way or another depending on what our family's needs are. I agree with you in thinking of like, oh wow, we really need to think deeply. And then maybe that's why so many of us fail with them is because it's just surface level, not deep down, really,
Yeah.
really, really what is it that you need and want.
Yeah, actually, so at the end of my book is when I touch on goals. I really don't talk about them much until you get to the end. And that's because that's my belief is you got to get to know who you are. And then when I did my program as well, I have a whole unit on goal setting, but prior to that, I have visioning. So you have to know, you have to see where you want to go. And really, you're picking out things that mean a lot to you. I mean, my program it's 8 weeks long. So it's all about getting to know yourself. And at the end, you set goals because you've reconnected.
Yeah.
The importance of your why, which is huge. The more you know why you're going after that goal, the more likely you're going to stick to it. It's really got to pull your heartstrings. Like if I say I'm going to lose 20, yeah, that sounds great, but why are you losing the 20 pounds? Is it because you just had a mini stroke and you want to live, or is it because you you wanna go to the beach and play with your grandkids, like, things that really mean something to you. I do this thing, and it's called the 7 whys. It's 7 levels deep, and you just keep asking yourself, "Why do I want this? Why do I want this goal? Because it'll give me time freedom. Why do you want time freedom? So I can go to the beach. Why do you wanna go to the beach?" So you just keep on asking, and you go all the way down to 7, and then that's the magic. I don't know, it's just weird that level 7 tells you what your goal really means to you. And it's usually something from your past, to be honest with you. All of a sudden, you're like, I don't want to live like that,
Yeah.
or something to that effect. Like, I need to
What
live
is that
like,
past? It's always coming to get us. It's just awful.
yeah, but your why is so important because when we all slip, that's just life. So, first of all, if you go into your goals knowing I'll probably slip up and I'm going to, fail at one of my intentions. So, if you go into it knowing that, it makes it easier when it happens. And then you just step back and say, okay, I screwed up. What can I do to avoid that? So, if it's, I don't know, maybe it's that you didn't do as many things as you said you were gonna do in that week. Just go, "Okay, so what did I do?" Look at what the steps that you did accomplish because that's good. You're
Right,
that many steps closer to your goal. I don't know. Goal setting is it's just life, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Life
right.
isn't perfect.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Would you say that we are probably too aggressive with what our initial goal setting is, that it should be more like baby steps on working to what the big goal is versus just like, making this huge list of things that you're not even doing now. So it's almost like we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah. I
And then
would
I'm
agree
like,
with
see, I
you.
can't do it.
Totally. Yes. So my thought is that you make a big goal. So it was funny because when I was thinking about the podcast and the whole process of setting goals, I'm like, okay, so how am I going to explain this? So I took my goal from last year. So last year I joined an accountability group or business accountability group, and I wanted to take my business from being a hobby to like a respectable business. So in that, they have you start off by doing a goal for the year. And I did it in January. That was our first meeting. And my goal was to legitimize my business and my product, legally legitimize my business and product. So that's my big goal. So, you throw it up on the shelf and you say, all right, so how am I gonna get to that? And you just list all the things that have to be done in order to get to it. This is what I did anyway. And there was so many. So what I did, which I get over, like my mind gets overloaded and it's almost like there's clutter in front of me when I have too many things going on.
Yeah, I
So
agree with that.
I took each area, like I needed to get an LLC. I needed to get an attorney for, my taxes. I needed to get another attorney, a copyright attorney. So all these big things that would legitimize my business, I put them on a different month. So I just said in January, I'm going to start with the LLC because I need to get that. And then I'll
Right,
start working down. That's exactly what I did. So then it's you break that one down. So it's like I didn't have 12, but I actually have it right there. Let me see. I had 4 different things. So I had to get an LLC. I had to get my finances in order. I had to legitimize my product, which is my program, and I had to market. And it was funny because when I went through all this, I got to the end and I realized that I didn't do the very first one. I'm sorry, the second one, the finance part. So now I have a QuickBooks class that starts next week because I got to finish that by the end of the year.
right. Oh my god. It's
So
always
it's if you do that and you put it in writing, that pushes you to do it.
right,
So it's yeah, that to have your big goal up on a shelf and then break it down into, like you were saying, like into mini steps, that's what you have to do. And if you have it written down and you're checking off your many steps, that gives you accomplishment. It makes you feel like you move forward. And when you slip or fail at keeping your promise to yourself, you can just say, well, I made this progress. So what made me slip? And
right,
how can I avoid it?
right. Yeah, and figuring out the why, so we have to do that. Maybe we just don't spend enough time doing this entire process because I feel like growing up, it's not anything that you're ever taught, right? Like we're
Right.
told that we need to set goals. Nobody really kind of takes us through the process. Like some of these could be big time goals and it might take a year. So I love hearing that, like how you said you took it out over 4 or 5 different months and just broke it down into smaller pieces so that you're not having a panic attack looking at the list of things that need to get done.
Well, it's really interesting too, because one of the other things I noticed is so my 3rd month, I started to work on my product and I wanted it copywritten, first of all, because I had a lot of things in there that were me and I didn't want anybody copying them.
Sure.
But what happened was I started looking at how I was presenting and I was doing one-on-one, plus I was also doing my class, like, trying to get more than one person because I think there's a lot of benefit to having a group and you feed off each other. So I started looking at that, and all of a sudden I was like, I need to market this differently. Like I need to hit more women. So the reason why I'm saying this is as you're going down the road with your goal, all of a sudden you might veer off and say, I need to do it this way, or this would work better for me. And that's okay. It's okay
Mhm,
not to follow that goal like concrete.
mhm.
That's just how you travel your journey. Like just like when we're going down, I mean, look at divorce. Nobody plans on being divorced.
Right.
You go down the road and all of a sudden you're like, this is not my path, and you veer off. It's the same thing with goals. Like your goal could change, and that doesn't mean you failed. That means you're critiquing it actually. And that's where you're supposed to go. So I think people are too tough on themselves. They set a goal and they say, "Oh, I have to do this." And that's a lot of pressure
Yeah. It's a
to
total
put yourself in.
what's that's you set us the again, that's just setting ourselves up for continued failure. It's even people coming into the gym, like, they'll be like, I want to work out 4 or 5 times a day. And I'm like, already setting ourselves up for failure in the sense you're not doing anything now. So doing 1 day or 2 days is fabulous because you're already beating yourself but like little smaller steps so that you can get the habit going, see if you like it just a itch more, and see that you like it a little bit and might want to continue doing it because you're starting to feel good or sleep
Yeah,
better or whatever it might be. But
absolutely.
I
I
feel
think
like as women, we go so extreme.
right. I think fitness is great. I can remember when I first started working out, I made the goal of going to the gym every day. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym every day. And I got through like 4 days and I'm like, all right, if you don't go, then what did that 4 days mean? So I'd get up and I'd just go. And I did that. And it was December that I started that. This was like 3 years ago. And I missed one day, it was Christmas Day, and I was so proud of myself, but I can remember going through being at the gym and, like, 3 or 4 months into it, one of the guys that were there, he's like, "You're here all the time, you're doing really good," he's I don't know if he was just flirting, but he told me, and it stuck with me. He told me, "It takes a year to notice a difference." I'm like, "A year? To do this for a year?" But I felt great. So I looked back at the difference that I did see.
Right,
Just you gotta remind yourself why you're doing it, and then take a look at how far you've come. Because like I said, it's a journey, and nobody's gonna get there tomorrow, no matter what your goal is. So, as long as you are looking at your progress, creating steps rather than just a goal, I mean, that's pretty far away when you think about a goal. So
right,
you have to have they're almost like little rewards steps where you can feel good about yourself that you're actually doing it. And if you get 3 of your steps done, you're 3 steps closer than you were 3 days ago.
right. Yeah,
It makes me think about, like, cigarette smoking. Both my parents smoked cigarettes. My dad never tried to quit smoking. My mom tried all the time. And I used to say that any goal really is just like trying to quit smoking. Every time you try, you're one step closer to succeeding. And both my parents quit smoking. My dad was just cold turkey, but my mom tried so long. So you just keep trying, you fall off the horse and you jump back on.
could you go in a little more in depth? I think I love that talk of reflection. I feel like sometimes we're so just kinda eye on the prize of trying to get to the end result that we're trying to accomplish that we don't really give ourselves that energy or space to be like, "Oh my gosh, I know I'm still trying to get over here, but look at what I've accomplished over the last few months." Is that important for us to be more successful long term with what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, well, like I said, with the when you figure out what you want your goal to be, and I said put it up on the shelf, and then when I noticed that I had broken my goal down into steps per month, that was very helpful because I was only focusing on that. And then within that month, on Sundays, I planned my week out. So I would write what I was doing on each day that reflected that goal. So if I didn't want to overwhelm myself, I would just like every other day have something I'm doing towards that step. So just breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down, and then looking back and saying, wow, I did get all this stuff done. Even though it was 3 days that I worked on it instead of 7, it's 3 days more than I was working on it the week before. So it's like you do think the word that you used was reflection, which is perfect because that's exactly what you have to do is see how far you've come. If it was easy, we would all do it already.
I agree. I totally agree. It's like everything, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that you talked about your experience with, kind of wrapping your hands around writing your book. And I think sometimes with goals, we feel like, well, I don't really have goals because it's not this big, huge, crazy thing that you're trying to accomplish. It can be something that's a little simpler or a little easier, or I can't even think off the top of my head what it might be. But is that process still as important, even if it's something, you know, let's just say you want to start walking, a couple times a week. That doesn't seem like crazy, but if you don't set yourself up steps wise with breaking down your why, we're still going to fail with that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think definitely because when it gets cold, you're going to say, I'm not going to walk today. Well, guess
Right.
what? It's winter. It's going to get cold a lot of days and you're going to disappoint yourself. So if you just say, I'm going to walk 3 days a week, get them out, get them done the first 3 days, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you said that about the book because I think that's a really good breakdown of a goal. And if somebody wants to write a book, which a lot of people ask me about, the chapters. That would be the same kind of thing as like what I did with the months. So you want to write a book and you say, okay, well, these are all the topics that I'm going to do. Well, which one are you going to put in each chapter? Okay, let's just do one chapter. So it's really it's having that big goal and then focusing in on the steps that you have to do and then the tasks in order to get those steps done.
And if we write our goals, we might not know all the answers to how all of these things are, right? Like it can,
Absolutely.
like you're saying that it's fluid. Maybe we just need to, I guess we need to relax a little bit.
Right, because we're gonna be learning along the way too, and, like, when I was talking about veering off, those kind of things happen, and that's just life, and that's good. That's good because you're realizing that so you're learning really, but you're realizing that there's a little bit more of you coming out because you're trying to, like, almost, like, form it into who you are. It's a journey of getting to know you too while you're, going after a goal.
So if I needed help learning to get to know me, you're saying that we can read that in your book? Is that we can get walked
Yeah,
through
well,
some?
in my book, it's the tools I used. So I spent a lot of time I look at it now, it was meditation. Everything I did back then, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to be present in my kids' lives. And I spent a lot of time by myself when they were in school and stuff like that. I wrote a lot, like just poured my sorrows out on paper just to get them out of my head. And spent time down at the beach, which I thought was my meditation, but it was also exercise at the same time, which I wasn't really looking at it like that. I was just trying to breathe. So it is a guide, but it's really just the tools that I used to realize that, I was the one missing out of my life. It wasn't anything else. I just wasn't there. I referred to myself as I was a shell walking around.
Yeah, yeah. How long did it take you to just come to terms with that or admit that? Just out of
You
curiosity.
mean to get to that point?
Yeah,
Well, I had a lot of trouble in my marriage, so I was always trying to fix it. And I would say that probably took about 7 years till I actually realized this is not for me. I need something different. I just feel like I'm an empty person. There was a hole in my heart that I couldn't fill. That's what
sure.
another way I said it. But the journey back to me, because I didn't have any direction, um, that was like 15 years, and it does not have to take 15. That's why I do what I do. I'm like, you're not alone, and it doesn't have to take you 15 years. You can do it in like, depending on you, you could do it in 3 months or a month.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's, it comes back down to us having to really have some deep conversations with ourselves on all of these levels, our whys for our goals and where we are. And I feel like being honest with ourselves is sometimes the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, when you're passionate about your goal, you're going to go after it. But you have to be passionate to follow through because it is tough. There are obstacles. We do have life to live and families.
Yes. That do get in the way sometimes.
Yes. And jobs.
So let's see. So if I was going to be writing my goals this year, where you're saying, should it be something that I'm looking at every single day? Like you said, you mentioned you had like your day planner, excuse me, when you were starting your week. Like, how should we be visualizing that?
That's a good word. Visualizing's great. That's kind of the lead up to it. So visualizing is I do vision boards. It's interesting because I just did this like 2 years ago. I started this. So I have the big blotter on my desk and there's like a cardboard on the back of it. So at the end of the year, when I take December off, I use that cardboard and I do a vision board of what I want to bring into my life for 2026. I started off saying that you have to know where you want to go in order to get there. So you can do that by writing. You can do it with vision boards. Nations is another thing that you could use as a tool. And all of these things I mention in the book too. But you have to constantly put it in front of yourself. And there's a comparison of how goal setting actually works. And this is going back to I don't know, like Henry Ford days. And they say that if you set a goal, you should write it down do affirmations and maybe pictures or something, just having it in front of you all the time. But if you think of buying a car, like let's say, I remember when this happened to me, I wanted an Envoy back in the day and I loved that car. So I finally got one and it was blue and everywhere I looked, it was on the highway and I never saw it before. Like I didn't notice them.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I have one and they're everywhere. So it's only because you put that in your mind's eye, and you so now you see it all the time. And it's the same thing with goals. The tools you need to accomplish your goal are right in front of you. And you just don't see it yet. But once you set the goal and you start saying, this is what I need to do to get it, all of a sudden these connections start showing up. You realize I got to go down this path. Like we were saying, you might change your mind on part of your goal.
Mm.
So it's writing down your goals and having something in front of you, whether you just have written on a piece of paper or you have a picture of it. It's a reminder constantly, and it just keeps putting it in front of you, which I don't know how it works. I don't know all the stuff about the brain, but it starts bringing things into your path of what you need to do.
Right. No, that makes sense. No, that was a good tip. So why don't you tell us, for those women right now that you might be resonating with what you're saying, how can we get more information on working with you, or kind of walk us through that, if you will?
Okay. Well, you can reach me on powerwithinher.com, which is easy to remember. And that's my book, it's my business, and it's my program as well. But I also have over at Cape Space for the month of February, I have a deep dive into the whole Power Within Her program. And that's on Mondays and Thursdays, starting the first week of February. I have that. I also have a retreat coming up, which is really awesome because you're surrounded by you. And
Uh,
it's a spa treat too, a spa retreat.
yeah.
So you get to pamper yourself at the same time as reconnecting with who you are. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, like I said, powerwithinher.com, and just send me a message and I'll reach out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Patty has so much fabulous information to offer. So if you're looking to continue your journey in 2026, I highly encourage you to reach out and get some help and direction, because it's only going to make us a better, stronger, happier person.
And the more you get to know yourself, the more you'll want to keep getting to know yourself. And that's the beauty of setting goals is as you're getting closer to them, it's going to make you want to put more time into your goal. So don't give up.
Yeah, we're not giving up. Well, thank you again for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Jillian. Have a great day.